On air. All right. Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Ask Aviator live stream and podcast. I have zero information in front of me because of how our computers are set up right now. So I think this is episode 44, I believe. And I am here for a few minutes of pre-show with our oldest son, August. Again, he was here a couple weeks ago and asked to come back again to share more of his Lego creations with us. We have been at home for 3 weeks plus now, so lots of creative Lego time has been happening. So, August, what have you brought today?
A Hulkbuster.
A Hulkbuster, ladies and gentlemen. So, is this something you came up with on your own?
No, I remodeled it.
You remodeled it. So, tell me more about that.
It's Iron Man.
It's Iron Man, and so you use some of your own pieces to read. So can you show us some features of this Hulkbuster? Okay, something for the headstand, and it does acro. Amazing, very cool, very cool. What else have you? Is there anything else you'd like to show us on with the Hulkbuster, or did you bring anything else to show us?
Nothing much with the Hulkbuster.
Okay. Oh, so what have we here? What's this?
A four-propellered helicopter.
A four-propellered helicopter. Wow. What would you use this kind of helicopter for?
Snow.
Snow. For
Icy
delivering
wind.
snow? Oh, okay. To fly in the snow. Okay. Very cool. Does it have any special features aside from four propellers? A retractable hook with a release, ladies and gentlemen.
August, you want to talk some about what it's been like to be here all day?
Yeah, tell us some about what it's been like to be home. Just the five of us, all cozy together for 3 weeks. I'd love to see your face a little more if we can set this down.
Okay.
How's it been?
Good.
It has been good. What's the best part?
Legos.
Legos. Okay.
Legos. More Legos.
What's the hardest part?
Not going to the library.
Not going to the library. No?
Not getting cookies from Publix.
Not getting cookies from Publix. That is tough. Tough stuff. Is that what are you most looking forward to when things will you still your body for a moment? Thank you.
Okay.
I know you're so excited to be here. What is the thing you are looking forward to the most about when it is a good idea for us to leave the house again?
Christmas.
Christmas. Do we have to leave the house for Christmas? Hopefully we get to leave the house before Christmas. That's a long way off. Is there anything you're really missing getting to do? I miss getting to see people and hug people and talk with people face to face.
I have no idea right now.
Don't have an idea? Okay, that's fair. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
There's a big X right behind us.
And there is a big X right behind us.
So
How about...
Does that mean we're treasure?
Perhaps. Hey, what kind of projects have you been working on outside?
A pit.
A pit. And what is the purpose of this pit? Does it have a purpose?
It was a swimming pool.
It was a swimming pool. Yes, the boys are 2 boys. They're 7 and 8, and they dug a pit, and it's been used for many things. Most recently, we put a tarp in it and filled it with water, and they swam in it for their swimming pool, and it was a lot of fun. We are going to wrap up here briefly. Thank you, August, for coming and sharing with us and showing your Lego stuff with us and talking about.
I should have worn my war paint mustache.
Oh, another day.
Over
But
my ears.
thank you for being
I
up.
should have put a beard.
Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it. And we will wrap up and be back with Eric and some guests shortly.
All right. Will you come in this side real quick?
Do I need to do anything over here?
Hello and welcome to the Ask Aviator podcast / live stream episode number 44. I believe we're live right now. I believe that you can see my face. Lord willing, don't rise. Part of our life is a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to share what we're doing, what's happening, and just kind of what's going on in the world around us. So for right now, as you guys can see, I'm about 3 weeks overdue for a haircut. We are carrying on, guys. We're carrying on. So I believe tonight's going to be a fun episode. But before I bring in our guests, I just want to say welcome. Welcome to each and every one of you guys. We got Craig Couch, Bob Garber, Craig Taylor, Kelby Cox, Strike Flyer, Ripman Writing, Brian Waller, Cody Esterline, Derek Trout. I've probably repeated a few of these guys. 009, Jeff Cronenwet. Cool name. James Dunn. I'm glad you got your book, my friend. If you guys got the book, please leave a comment down below so I can personally thank you. I truly appreciate each and every one of you guys who picked up our book. In fact, I should have a copy of it here. I didn't do that. My bad. I won't get a copy. Nell's going to rock out and get a copy for us. So, guys, thank you all so much for being here. Ernie DeVletter, I just bought more bottom round. I'm making some more Boltong this week as soon as we get the opportunity. So, there we go. There's Gio's book, which you probably can't see, actually. Can't see it at all. Just kidding. All that for naught. I can wear it on my head. Be like, how about that? Is that better? We got Professor Chaos, Ross Gasaway. We actually just saw Ross. You guys will see it in the video very, very soon. But we had a special air delivery from Ross today. It was actually quite hilarious. And I immediately Lysoled the snot out of it. So don't worry, we're safe. But you'll see the video. I'm looking forward to it. Craig Couch, good to see you, my friend. PPG Bob Father, great to have you, brother. Brian Waller, Brian Meese, ordered the Kindle version. Thank you, my friend. The Kindle version hit number 1. I don't know that I've publicly announced this yet. We hit number 1 in not just one category, but in 4 different categories or 5 different categories. And we hit in the biggest categories that I was anxious to be a part of was entrepreneurship and self-help. And we hit number 9 in entrepreneurship, and I believe the same in self-help, which is pretty big when you look at some of the authors that we're next to. I think it hit number 7 at one point in entrepreneurship as well, but I don't know exactly. I didn't get that screenshot. So pretty freaking cool. Bob Garber says, the book rocks. Anyone who's not purchased it yet, go for it. Worth it. Great book, inspirational, and a great read. Thank you, my friend. It's going to be better soon because I'm going to continue to edit it as I read it, which I start the reading process for the Audible version tomorrow. So we have a great group here right now on a Tuesday evening. And tonight I'm going to bring my wife on the stream. She's behind the camera right now, but she's going to come in here. We're going to have some chats with you guys. We're going to answer questions later. But quite frankly, I didn't do a whole lot of prep for this. I didn't do a whole lot of planning, a whole lot of production. My apologies. But I do have some special guests coming on tonight. And next week, go ahead and mark your calendars because Tucker is going to join us through the old Zoom call. So Tucker's going to be with us next week on Tuesday, same time, same place. Looking forward to having him. He was going to be here tonight, but he wanted to go flying, and my dad was willing to give up flying. So we got my dad and my mom coming on the show. We never had them both. We've had dad on, and I don't think mom's ever been on. So I figure what we might do, just to make things kind of different, is talk some about the effects of flight on the people in your life. Not you, like not just the effect on you as an individual, but the effect of flight on the people in your life. I want to kind of discuss that because it has been a huge shift in my life, huge shift in my father's life, but the shift that it's made for our spouses is much more important, in my opinion, because we get the fun out of flying, right? We get to have fun, we get to fly, that's all great. But being able to have the opportunity to share that experience with our families is everything to me. So I think that's what we're going to talk about tonight, I believe. I'm not sure if mom and dad are there or not yet, but we'll find out soon. Oh, I got a thumbs up from the wife. No, come over here. Come join me. All right. She's like sliding the phone in, being all sneaky. Leanne's here. If you guys watched Leanne's video, Leanne Abakina. I was watching this Saturday, and I'd seen it 3 times already before the minutes, yeah. But I was watching it, and I was chatting with my team, and I was just like, guys, this is literally why we do this. Like, if you watch that video and you don't feel the emotional charge behind what it feels like to learn to fly, flying is life. Check your heartbeat. Yeah, check your heartbeat, yo. He was a mensch, and he trusted me when no one else should. I really appreciate that, man, because it gave me the opportunity to fly. I think I'm up to 84 types of airplanes.
That's amazing.
And 81 of those, or 78 of those, was before I was 18, which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
So, thanks,
Pretty
Jonathan.
cool.
All right, so we have a whole lot of people in the chat. It's growing. Leanne's video link, Brian Meese asked. Let me see if I can get it for you really quickly. Let me get it.
What a good thing.
It's on this channel. It's not hard to find. I assure you, it's not hard to find. But let's see. My Time Is Now is the name of the video, and I have the link address, and it's coming in the chat.
It in the chat
right now. There you go.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, that's with the timestamp. So let me get rid of the timestamp. Jonathan, hopefully the FAA is quarantined. I think you're past the statute of limitations. I think we're good. I'm going to unplug these headphones because we won't need those. And then it goes in right there. Right there. So this makes sense. This makes more sense. This keeps us closer together.
Oh.
I love it. All right, so
if we're not close
I
enough.
know, right? Oh my gosh. All right, I'm pausing the stream to see.
Yes.
I'm going to try to bring my parents in. Let's see. Mom and Dad, if you would please hit your... oh, no sound. Why is there no sound? Oh, there's no sound. Sorry about that, guys. When I plugged this in, apparently it bypasses the microphone.
That's weird.
That's very weird. Let's try this. I wonder why that happened. All right, I guess we're going to have to do this. I guess I'm going to have to talk to Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We tried. We're gonna figure this stuff out. So I'll talk to Mom and Dad, and then I'll bring Nell back in, and we'll do a conversation of about how it's been for our family life. The issue was that I plugged in a headset that has a microphone attached, and apparently that took over the microphone.
Bypassed it. Yeah.
And it wouldn't let it kick it back. So, oops.
Cool.
All right. So I'm gonna bring my parents in. Mom and Dad, please unmute yourself, and I will see if this works. Let's see. You can angle the camera down a little bit if you wanted.
Okay.
It's okay with me.
You sat up taller than you were when
Oh, sorry. All right.
Can you hear it?
I can hear Mom and Dad. Let me get this over to Zoom so that they can see. Let's see. Zoom split. It's the one. Is it on Zoom split on the OBS? Can you see both of us?
I think so.
Yes. I think we're good. This is the hard part, guys, because we're doing this through a whole bunch of series of machinations that normally is handled by our filmmaker, and we don't currently have a filmmaker. So,
Even if we had one, he wouldn't be here.
yeah, if we had one, he wouldn't be here. That's true. That's very, very true. Craig, I got the settings are correct on Zoom audio. They're all going through Tascam, which is this really fancy splitter, Mini Studio Creator, and then it goes into Stream Deck, which is the balancing act from that, and then it goes into this microphone and these headphones. And it's a lot of things happening at once. But the one thing I think my parents can say that they're not missing, at least my father is not missing during this experience so far, is a haircut. Is that correct, Dad?
True. No.
There's more to kiss.
Oh, my Lord. Well, for those of you guys who have not met my parents, many people have because they're around the shop quite often. This is my mom, Tina, and my father, Bob, and they have been part of my life for 34 and a half years. Thanks, guys, for being horny 35 and a half years ago. I appreciate it. I'm waiting to see this come through my Zoom and see if it makes you awkward or not.
No.
Just keep it that mild.
So what I want to talk about is we'll start with Dad. Let's talk. So you've been flying for 6 years, or is it 7? 6 years, I think, right?
6 years in March.
6 years in March. So 6 years in March. Talk about what it was like for you. Kind of give some of your flying experience. You've been on the show before, but we'll kind of share some of your flying experience, what it's been like for you. And then I want to talk about how you feel it shifted who you are when you're on the ground. And then I want to get some perspective from Mom as well.
Okay.
So carry it away. 6 years ago in March, what happened?
Well, it was you had asking me to go out and kite with you and become interested in the passion that you had for flying, and I having watched you for 2 years and picking up the pieces of what was left of you, I said I had no interest. Zero. No interest at all.
What are you trying to say?
Besides that, I was nearly crippled with 2 bad knees, and I had one knee replaced in early February. So by the middle of March, I was 6-7 weeks into recovery, and I thought, well, all right, I'll go out with you and I'll try this kiting thing. And it was great fun going forward and back, but I couldn't go right to left. I couldn't go and get under the wing. If it drifted right or left, it would just collapse because I couldn't make my legs move in that direction. So after about 3 days, I said, I can't do this.
Right.
And I'm sorry, as much as I'd like to. And you got up behind me one time, and as we were running forward in a forward launch, you pushed me and it lifted me. I think I got about 3 feet into the air. And I said, I'm fine. Thank you. It was great, but this is not for me. And then you just said kind of over your shoulder, let's try you in a trike, Dad. And
I remember.
Said, okay. And I sat down in the trike, and 2 days later, I took my first flight. And there was nothing. I mean, everybody has a story about their first flight, but mine, I remember we were in
that location. Oh my God.
Short location.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so, like, when I look back at teaching people to fly in those locations we were teaching people to fly in, I still, like, my stomach starts just to shrink, and I was like, oh God, that was so terrible. Like, I can't think of a worse environment to fly in.
But Eric, you had no other choice.
That's true.
And you had the best places that you could possibly find in the area, and they worked. And you did a great job.
It was a lot of work to get to the airport, but when we finally got that airport, good Lord, was it fabulous.
Yep, absolutely.
I just remember distinctly the pine tree that was about 100 yards ahead of me. And you're talking into my headset and said nothing about missing it. But when I lifted up and I looked down at it, and it was just about 3 feet below me, and I realized just how close I came to hitting the tree.
It wasn't that close.
Yes, it was. And I sucked in air, and I was just amazed that I was absolutely flying for the first time in my life. And I was the pilot. I was flying it. And that was something that nothing ever compared to that initial rush. Now, there have been extraordinary flights since then, almost every day for the last 6 years. But I mean, that was a pivotal moment in my life where I realized that I could fly. Now, once that realization entered into my heart and I realized I could fly, then I kept asking, why am I not flying? It just seemed like now that you know you can, you just got to go. And so I've become addicted to the app that shows me wind and gusts and so that's becomes my day to day. And the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, I'm looking at tomorrow's forecast. First thing in the morning, I'm checking to see if it changed. And then I'm watching the sunrise and anticipating getting out and onto the airstrip.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain point, too, that I think is really fun, is that you started driving yourself forward. You know, our fifth rule at Aviator is give back. And it didn't take long for you to want to give back. It didn't take long for you to try to find ways that you could encourage others through this experience of flight. And I shared this, I don't know if it was in a podcast, I think it was in the podcast or another podcast I did recently, that, you know, if I look at our life, if you were to die tomorrow, please don't, by the way. But if you were to die tomorrow, I wouldn't remember the 18 years we traveled in a bus together. I wouldn't remember the trout fishing or the blackberry picking or the ridiculously overly good hunting sessions or the terrible ones. I would remember you most enough to take a picture. I would remember flying around Lake Wales Airport and those perfect sunsets and like just the smile on your face, the size of the smile on your face. That's the you I will always remember. And I think that who you are has shifted so much through the perspective given you by flight.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think Mom would too. But before you say anything, Mom, what would you say has most shifted in Dad through flight? Now, we'll give some background here for those of you who haven't read my book. My mother sold it on her 16th birthday, correct, Mom?
A month after.
Okay, so you were a fixed-wing pilot. Your father was a pilot. Your brother's been an airline pilot for over 30 years. Your nephews are all pilots. Your son's a pilot. Your daughter's a professional skydiver. We are aviation, right? And Dad married into that, but never really even showed signs of interest. What was your perspective, and what's your perspective grown to over the last 6 years of him flying? How has it shifted him?
I think it gives him a drive that is just beautiful. There are a couple of sides to it, however. It's really interesting because I know how much he loves it, and I love it too. I have no desire to learn to fly, really.
We'll work on that. We've got an all ladies class in October. We have to work on it.
Be like,
I love doing the tandems with him. I love seeing you all in the air. I love, whether it's the Paradigm team or just flying around the airport, the vehicle is so beautiful.
It is.
The wing is such a gorgeous design. And then there are those happy colors, happy colors.
Except for mine. Mine's black and red and rage.
That could be changed.
some inventory out there.
But one of the things that I don't know when it was, maybe a couple of years ago, he said to me is, I think I'm getting addicted to this, and I really don't think that's good for me. And I'm not going to fly as much. And because I grew up on the same airstrip that you did,
yep,
knew the dangers in that. I know that incompetent pilots don't fly very much.
Yeah, that is the risk. That really is the risk.
Huge risk. And so the people who would come into my family's airstrip would be very brilliant people, but they did stupid things. They did very stupid things.
I think you and I could probably talk for an hour on some of those stupid things. I mean, pulling bodies out of the lake because they were laying long, or just so many.
Don't go there.
No, and it's not up to mock them. It's to recognize that it really is a valid issue. If you're not flying often and you're pushing yourself to do what you want to do, it becomes dangerous.
Or being the Sunday once a month pilot, that's really scary to me. So when Dad mentioned that a couple of years ago, I came back at him. I said, no, do not pull back.
Right.
I want you to fly a lot. I want you to be very competent. But we just have I wouldn't call it an agreement. We never really talked about it. But like tonight, there was just something within me that said, don't go fly tonight. He was planning to, after talking with you, to eat supper and go fly. And
it was a perfect night. I tell you what, Ross flew over and I was like, I had the jitters, man. I really did. I'm like, it's so perfect out. Why am I not flying?
But I loved it because I said, would you please not fly tonight? And he didn't go, he said, okay.
Yep.
And there's something very respectable and honorable about that to me. And I think that's one thing that's just very precious. And I would hope that, you and Danielle have that. We do now.
And we didn't. And that's one of the things that grew through experience. When I had my accident, it was the first morning that, I kissed her goodbye and I was going flying with Tucker out your field, and really good at listening to our feelings. We're really good at pushing through. And so I've told her now, anytime she ever has any feeling that's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, I'm like, I'm out. Done. Okay, sold. Talk me out of it. Let me get a glass of wine and we'll have a nice morning together or evening together. It's like no problem.
I love the story. I put as the gentleman's name who parachuted out of an airplane several years ago onto what was it called? Like
Net.
a net. He's parachuted into a net.
Gosh, I know him. What is his
Nick.
name? I know him. Like I'm friends with him, not close, obviously, but
But Becca, our daughter, who's the professional skydiver, had a visit with him about a year ago, and I guess he had spoken first, and then she talked with him afterwards to tell him some things.
oh, it's Luke Akins. Luke Akins is who that is. Yeah, Luke's a good dude.
But he and his wife had an incredible. Before he did that, they had set up all sorts of things, which I can't remember what they were, and you probably do. But to me, that was just such a beautiful thing that she was in touch with the pilot of the aircraft, and if she called it and said, I have a bad feeling about this, they were not going to do it. After I don't know how many years it took them to get all of that set up.
To go through all that from everything that he went through to make that jump happen. And like, you know, I'm friends with Marshall Miller. He actually was sponsored by Aviator, and Marshall's one of his teammates on Rebel Air Force. And I talked to Marshall about this quite a bit because as talented as they are and as much experience as they have, I wonder, I'm like, how do your wives handle it? And Marshall says it perfectly. He's like, she wouldn't have married me if it wasn't me. If this wasn't me, and I say the same thing. I've told this story before. Like after my accident, I told Nell I never fly again, and she said, "Well, if you don't fly, you're not the man I married." You know, I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think the gentleman who performed our marriage ceremony almost 41 years ago.
Was that Father Bob?
No, Father David Schofield.
Schofield, that's right.
But one of the most important things that he shared with us was that we were always to listen to each other's intuition. I'm so grateful that Dad has done that.
I think the other piece of advice. What's that?
I think that he's grateful too. Most of the time.
I think the other piece of advice that he gave you guys that was really crucial is always fight naked. Is that how did he say it? I don't remember how it was, but it's a clever piece of advice for any new married couples in here.
End up in front of each other, fight fair, but fight naked. Coming from a religious priest, I thought that was pretty cool. Especially he was celibate. I thought that was pretty cool.
What?
Yep.
Was he really?
Yeah, he wasn't married. Yeah.
He was a celibate Episcopal priest.
I didn't know Episcopal priests were celibate ever. Wow. Okay.
Ever. Well.
All right. So how do you see that this has shifted Dad? How do you see what has shifted in him, his personality on the ground, based upon what you've seen develop in him from flight?
Oh, goodness. Come on, help me with this some, Eric.
So for me, it's a very obvious one. There have been two things. One is, and I lay everything out on this show, so sorry.
I've heard it before.
I know. One is, growing up with 5 kids in a motorhome. Don't know how he did it for 6 months a year for over 20 years, right?
18 years.
18 years. I only lasted 15, so we started when we were 3 years old, or I was 3 years old, and we sold homeschool books, and so we'd go, in a week, we'd leave on a Monday morning after a show, and we would drive from here, let's say from Los Angeles to Minneapolis for our next show. And that drive from Minneapolis or from LA to Minneapolis would take 3.5 days. Sometimes they'd be 16-hour days. Sometimes they'd be 8.5-hour days in traffic, driving a 1978 or 68?
75.
75. Okay, see, I'm getting all the things wrong. That's all right.
The last one?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah, Charlie Daniels tour bus.
Daniels tour bus.
1975 MCI coach.
So this was an MC8 with, at one point, an 8V92 engine, a big, huge Detroit diesel, but it had a manual transmission, and the manual transmission had a slave cylinder that went bad, and because we sold books to homeschoolers in the age of Amazon, we couldn't afford to get it repaired or replaced. So it had a 70-pound return spring on the clutch, right?
Right.
I'm getting some numbers right. This is powerful. Okay. So Dad had a left leg that was the size of Hercules and a right leg the size of Twiggies, and he dealt with 5 kids in a motorhome, and So it's a 40-foot bus towing a 26-foot trailer with a 6-foot tongue, if I recall correctly. Are those numbers correct?
I recall it was 70 feet nose to tail.
Okay, so I'm close. So the man I remember was a man who was under immense stress. I think, if I recall correctly, our profit margin was like 1.6% or 3% or something tiny. I don't remember what it was. Do you?
Light bill.
Yeah, you pay the light bill with it. And we had all these employees at home that were shipping us product. And, you're driving for all these days, and then you stop and you unload all the books, and you're exhausted. And, backing down the spiral driveway of the Minneapolis St. Paul Convention Center in this giant bus with 5 kids running around rambunctious. I just remember my dad as always being short and angry and frustrated and on edge constantly. And I remember you that way because those are the memorable moments. Those are the flashes that I still have, right? I remember, what was the phrase that you used, Mom and Dad? Cognitive. Cognitive. Like, Dad's driving the bus through traffic, and I'd hear a cognitive, and everyone had to shut up and get to the back of the bus as quick as possible, right?
High pressure.
It was high pressure. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that was the most memorable thing I would say about you. If you asked 20-year-old version of me, like, what's your dad like? I'd say he loves us. He provided for us. He's angry, And then when you started flying, the anger faded away. It was like there was this subconscious shift in who you were that was suddenly more at peace with yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Let me paint a picture.
Yeah, please.
It's my 5th flight, and you tell me, Dad, go up to 500 feet and circle until we come up and get you.
Yeah.
James and I, your brother James and you, will come up and get you. So I said, okay. So I took off, had a good takeoff, got up to 500 feet, and I was circling. And I watched the two of you take off, and you headed west at about 50 feet off the ground. I'm at 500. You cross Highway 27, and you drop down into the pasture.
Yes.
And you start zigzagging among these oak trees. And I said to myself, wait a minute, they're having all the fun. I'm stuck up here going around in circles, and I'm miles away from you. So I decided I could follow you.
Mm-hmm.
And I dropped down. An interesting thing happened. It was one of the first times, other than that first flight, that the sense of awe just nailed me. And what happened was, you and James were flying towards a pond, and at the last moment, you turned off. And when you veered off to the right, I was coming down behind you, and a whole gaggle of cattle egrets.
Yes, I remember this. I remember that perfectly.
Came up and formed a V, and I slipped in behind that flock of birds. And I said, oh my gosh, I get it. I now understand what their joy is all about. And it's been ever since that, I'm always looking for, and it doesn't seem to ever be a day that goes by that I don't get a taste of that awe.
Yep.
Now, when I have that awe and that peace and that joy, and I bring it back and I walk onto the porch, and there's Mom sitting there reading in the morning, and I walk in and I'm grinning, and she says, how was your flight? And I go, let me tell you what I saw. There was tule fog, and there was an eagle, and we go on, or I'm chasing hogs, and it's just one day after the next, and I'm walking around with a grin and with a.
It's better than Mom's clapping, all right?
Like, oh yes, much better than Mom's clapping. But that sense of joy and awe that occurs with this flight. Now, as Mom was sharing, it was 2.5 years into the flying when I turned to her and said, I really think I'm making an idol of this. I want to pull back.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wait to do it morning and night. And she said, you are like heck. You fly every flyable day. I want you to be the best pilot there is out there. And I said, oh, heck, twist my arm. And
talk
so she
me
did.
Into it.
That's right. That's right.
And so we budgeted and made provisions so that when one machine would die, I had enough money to buy another one. Not die, but I mean wear out.
Yeah. Well, you've worn out what, 3 machines now?
3 machines now.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not talking, guys. I'm not talking about like lightly worn out. You have to understand. So I've flown a lot. I have 10,000 plus flights, probably. But many of my flights are 30 to 70 seconds. They're very short flights. I used to be able to fly a lot longer before Aviator grew to the point where it is now. I used to do, 3-4 hours a day. Dad's done that for 6+ years, and so he has. Good God, Dad! Your Nirvana had over 1,000 hours, easily 1,200 hours on it. Your air conception, I don't remember how many hours I had on it when we finally sold it.
About 500.
About 500, and then now you have a tandem unit which has 130 hours, and you have a person. How many hours does your personal unit have? And talk about what your personal unit is, because somebody asked that question earlier. What you're flying
Most
now?
to 185.
Say again.
I have the most to 185. Fly
Yep.
trike.
With the Foxy trike, right?
Foxy trike, right.
Yeah.
And I'm using a Roadster 24.
What's actually kind of cool about that is Dad actually went from he had a Speedster 222 and
No, 24 also.
and a 24, and I kind of this is the challenge of me being your son. I'm watching you fly, and I'm watching the conditions you're flying in, and I was like, hey, why don't you take a safer step? Like, let's take a step back, because the Roadster 3 was so much more dynamic than the Roadster 2. It was so much easier to turn. It was more like a Speedster, but it had the safety features that were more in line with a B wing versus a C wing. And so you, thankfully, thank you, by the way, made the choice to go and take a step back. So I really appreciate that. And are you happy with it?
Oh yeah, it's just wonderful. It's got great control, and I still get a lot of woohoos. I love it.
So Dad's last trike that had the air conception on it was a custom built trike that George Farkas made, and it had a sticker on the back that we printed for him that said woohoo, and it also had a sticker on the bottom that said watch out for trikes, which Dad never saw until after he crashed into another paramotor.
I never heard of that. Oh my goodness.
It had a watch out for trike sticker on it, like one of the motorcycle trikes. And he never saw it until the time he flew into someone else's paramotor on takeoff at I think at Wings Over Winter or whatever it was. It was like a crazy big, busy fly-in, and he got off center. He was rushing, and it was just perfect. It was like the fact that sticker was suddenly apparent and visible, and he hadn't seen it yet. So yeah, but why do you have woohoo on your trike?
Well, I like to say that I have a certain number of woohoos that I'm okay with if the wind is gusty or it's a little rocky and I get this woohoo and it goes up and down a little too fast. And I have a certain number of them. If I run out of woohoos, I land. I suddenly decide it's not fun anymore if you run out of woohoos.
Literally every time he flies over us on the field, you hear woo.
But I will tell you, you talk about giving things back. I found great pleasure in flying from my strip here, fly to 5 miles to the airport in Lake Wales. On day 3 at Aviator for your new class. And I would taxi up to all the students who are out there having coffee, watching those of us that are experienced pilots. And I would taxi up my trike, and I would get off my trike, take off my helmet, and say, just another stinking powered paragliding pilot. And they would say, if he can do it, surely we can do it. And so that would be my inspiration for them.
How old are you?
72, will be 73 in May.
That's right. That's right. And still crushing it.
Or I'm celebrating my 42nd anniversary of my 30th birthday. How's that? Sounds so much younger.
43rd anniversary soon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I want to talk some about your tandem stuff in a moment, but Brian Waller says, Eric, your dad and you are lucky. I know personally. My dad taught me to fly. Getting to get up there with him is the best thing ever. And I agree. I mean, flying with my brothers, my father, my wife, it has brought us all together in a whole new way. I mean, it's really, really been just the absolute best. Jeff Dean says, does Dad make any YouTube videos I'd like to watch?
I have not made YouTube videos. I had some, Travis Burns filmed some of my earlier flights, which turned out really pretty, but I haven't produced any. You just went black on the screen. Am I still there, or did I die?
You're still live, I believe. Now, is the camera working?
No, our camera's out.
Our camera's out. We're going to get the battery swapped out real quick. It's in the basket over here, babe.
Yeah.
We'll get that camera battery swapped out, but they can still see you. So they can't see me, which means I am going to really quickly just change shirts and juggle some cactus, and it's going to be a great, great time.
I'll stop picking my nose. Thank you. Okay.
They can see you.
I said I stopped picking my nose. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah. All right, hang on one second. I'm going to get this going back up. One moment, guys. We'll be right back. All right. Check on the TV or the monitor.
Green and black.
I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
I hear you, but I only see green and black.
You only see green and black.
Yep.
That's weird. Let me figure out why that is. I'll be right back, guys. Apologies. All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Mom and Dad, can you hear me?
We hear you. I now see your name.
All right. Cool. I don't know why it may not work for you to see me anymore, but you can still hear me, right?
I hear you. Can
Okay.
other people see you?
Yes, other people can see me. I have not been able to see you this whole time, so this is just welcome to the club, Nell says, and I agree. Welcome to the club. So I am working on getting this thing going. Derek Trout says, enhance, enhance, enhance. I love it. I love it. All right. So
If you're a current foot launcher, you can always fly the rest of your life as a trike. Or if you're a trike pilot, you can foot launch.
I think you're the only person who's been through aviator training, what, 3 times?
Slow learner? Oh, no. Yeah. I had the best time, though, with the class that I was foot launching with here a few weeks ago. Everybody posts their number of flights that they've done. And I made a decision I was only going to foot launch when the wind was up.
Right.
So I'm looking at our board and seeing my fellow flymate, Mr. Nevada, who's known as Arizona, he had like 30 flights and I had 10. And everyone else had 30, 35, 20, 25, and I had 10. But then I put a dash next to it and I said, trike, 1,786. Keep your heart out.
I love it. So that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is kind of what your progression has been, because you learned to fly trike and then you learned to fly foot launch, 3 years ago. Got 2 flights foot launch, and then you went to Costa Rica and got a few more flights foot launch this summer or this winter. And then we had an empty seat in the class in February, I think it was. And you decided you want to go through the full foot launch course, be treated as a new student. And so we let you do that. But in between that, you came to me and you wanted to do tandems, and you had the experience. You had tons of flights, tons of hours. So I took you through a tandem clinic. What was your experience with that, and what are you doing with tandems now?
That was right after the FAA that said on we could finally use trikes after petitioning them for 5 years, and on wheels, where we could actually be safe on rubber instead of run with your passenger. And so we I came to you and said, can we do this? And you said, yeah, we can. And went ahead and trained me to be a tandem instructor. And now I train others to be tandem pilots as well. And that was done in 2018. Yeah, November of 2018. And so I've had a full year of doing tandems. And now with the outbreak of the virus, I'm down to doing one in a month, and I'm getting rusty.
Getting rusty?
No. I just you can transfer the with your experience using a trike right into a tandem a vehicle, and with enough hours behind you, it's a natural progression.
I forgot to switch back to the stream saw both of us, so my apologies, guys. Nell was waiting for her opening, she said. Oh, I'm sorry. It's all the way at the bottom, Zoom split. We use OBS to stream, so it's a fairly complicated program. But so if you guys want to see more about the tandems and that kind of thing, and once all of this pandemic stuff is over, check out pureflightaviation.com. Craig Taylor has it in the chat right now, but if you listen to this later on, check that out. Check it out and let us know. Dad is always available and looking for people to take flying with him. So, all right. Somebody asked if we're going to have any time for Q&A. Yeah, if anybody has any questions. What's that, Dad?
Fire away.
Yeah, if anybody has questions, feel free to jump in there. Here's a good question from let's see, where was it? It was from Jim CR120. He said, question for Mrs. Farewell. What encouragement could you offer for the spouses of paramotors as they see competition for their loved ones coming into play? Loved ones' attention coming into play?
Well, I've been blessed because I don't have any of that issue. I think part of it is just realizing that this is really good for my husband.
And that to me is the big takeaway that you cut out. Say again, Mom?
To me, that's the most important part. And I treasure the time in the mornings and in the evenings by myself.
Right.
That's precious time. But yeah, I want him to love life, and he loves it. I love him being wild at heart. Jens was a police officer for years, and we have all of these aviator people, and my daughter with the parachuting all the time for, I think it's been 10 years for her.
It's been at least 10 years. I think it might be 11.
And, I remember when she did her first jump, I encouraged her to do that. And I remember when she did her 100th jump, and I don't remember how many she's got now because it's just thousands and thousands and thousands. But to me, it's just a joy and it's beautiful. It's much more interesting. Of course, I've never been a soccer mom or a baseball mom or a football mom. But
way to point out my lack of sports ability. I appreciate that.
It's to me, it's so interesting, and these are lifelong skills, and they have taught each one of my children and my husband skills that they never could have had, and thinking, the way they think. I realized just last week, I said to Dad, do you realize that each one of our children is an incredible teacher? Every single one of you are phenomenal teachers.
It really is an interesting concept because, like, Joseph is, in my opinion, one of the best teachers I've ever seen teach. My brother Joe, and he takes teaching to a whole different level of body placement and movement. Like, I'm a very patient coach and teacher, and I'm very precise in what I do. But like the way that Joe teaches, I feel like he like supersedes my ability. Like it's amazing to watch how he teaches people to shoot.
Well, yeah, and he does the firearms training and the competitive shooting, and James worked with you, and he was an incredible instructor.
He really
Joseph,
was.
It's just when I went up for a tandem with Becca about a year and a half ago out in California in skydiving. I mean, she was 1,000 times better than the person that I went up with the first time.
Really?
I never desired to ever go again, but I really wanted to be able to experience that type of thing with her, with what she loves.
Yeah.
And she's just tremendous. So I just admire each one of my kids so much.
That makes
Great
me
teachers.
makes me want
Take
to go
after
skydiving.
mother.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, I'll save that same question, Jim, for my wife as well when she gets back in here. I just wanted to take a few minutes with my parents here, and we're going to end this show early tonight because I'm exhausted. I started the show literally like today has taken it out of me. I don't know what it was, but it's probably the fact that we haven't spent time with other humans in person in a really long time.
Eric, why don't you share with the group the text I sent you earlier today?
The text you sent me earlier today. Let me look for it. I'm scared now. Remind me to send connection info to Mom and I. Send us info to both. Do you need me to... Oh, sorry. It took me a while back. All right. He said, looks like a wonderful day to go thermaling. I said, indeed. He says, do you need me to talk you up? Are you a bit rusty? Hey, Dad, what's the first rule?
The student never teaches the teacher. No, I know.
No, students constantly teach the teachers. They challenge us constantly to become better at what we're doing. Oh, man. Too funny. So
funny. It was a funny moment, and it was a perfect day. And I did see Ross fly by us. He happens to fly a trike now because of his bad knee, and he's flying the same color wing that I have. I'm concerned that we might be impersonating the wrong person somewhere.
Well, he's flying a blue and pink wing oftentimes. He was flying our Roadster for a little while, but he's flying his free ride now. And so he's flying that little trike on a 16-meter free ride, and I think his cruise speed's got to be at least 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, he was moving. He was really moving.
He's hauling butt. So I don't want to spoil the video, but he tried to drop something off here and failed multiple times, and then was able to drop it off here. It's pretty funny. It'll be a good video for sure. So, all right. Let's see. Any other questions for my dad or mom? Anybody else? Let's see. I'm just trying to read all these. Jill Lloyd says, from a spouse's perspective of being on the ground, I love knowing that my hubby is finally able to touch the sky and be a part of it. Love
Amen.
that.
Amen.
Absolutely love that.
There's a great joy in that for me too. Love it.
Absolutely. Another one from Kristen Solano. As a spouse, leaves so many hundreds of students and so many years now of training. I'll get that, babe. Don't worry about it. There is a really crucial understanding that you have to have, and I say this in almost every intro class. I say that everyone that's sitting in that room needs to understand that they're doing something that's special, something that's different that most men don't do, men and women. We are not trained at all to take care of ourselves. We are so indoctrinated by humanity as a role to serve our wives, to serve our husbands, to serve our children, to serve our jobs, to serve everyone else around us. Taking the time to serve ourselves is so extraordinary. It's so outside of the box, and it's so crucial because when you take that time to fulfill your own needs, you actually get an opportunity to have a cup that's full enough to be able to pour more into other people, to be able to pour more heart and soul and love and joy and kindness, because you're coming from an enhanced perspective, and like, you've heard me talk about this over and over again, Dad, and you probably as well, Mom, but like, astronauts call it the overlook perspective, or whatever it is. I'm forgetting the words right now. But when they look down at Earth and they realize how small and minute they are, when they look down at Earth and realize how their actions can influence the Earth with a different perspective, it's just crucial. So I don't know. I think it's kind of cool stuff.
That's why I'm saying during this pandemic, fly. Share the joy with everyone on the ground. Let them look at you and be in awe. Make this a reality. Let them get bitten by the bug. Let them look forward to doing something like this. This adventure of flying is just nothing compares to it.
Yeah, it really is special. And we talked about this last night. So for those of you guys who weren't on the call last night, we do a special thing on Monday nights for our past alumni. It started yesterday. We've been trying to start it for 5 months. Now we finally have the extra point to do so. So Monday nights we do a live Zoom call. Last night we had about 60 people, 55 people show up. And it was all of our past alumni and Aviator family. And we just talked about the idea of whether or not we should be flying or not, because there are people, if you look at Facebook and stuff, talking about how you shouldn't fly because, you're at risk. And if you get hurt, you could be hurting the hospital and put someone else at risk. And, there's two very different angles to look at it. Like if you get hurt and you need a ventilator, you could take it from someone else who might need it. But there's also the side that says we should not live afraid. We shouldn't live in fear. And so like, I'm not flying currently just because I don't want to go and have to get the germs from my shop where everyone's been hanging out, but Dad flies every day because he wants to live beyond fear. He wants to choose life.
I want people to look up and go, I want to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big thing. Like,
I want to share the air with more people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And for me, like the opposite side is not the opposite side, but the side of it that's important to keep in mind is how do you ensure that you're not being selfish in that moment and finding ways to give back. Like honestly, right now is the prime opportunity to take toilet paper flying with you. Take your toilet paper flying with you and drop a roll here and there where people are waving. I bet you will become people's favorite person very quickly.
All right, there you go.
There's bathroom humor. Here it comes. I knew it was coming.
No, but seriously, like that would be what a great blessing to fly around with some Publix gift cards, that kind of just little things you might be able to do to bless somebody. But most importantly is how do you put yourself in a position to not be in danger? And that's just choosing to limit your bubble. So when your wife comes to you and says, hey, I don't feel great about the way that things, are looking tonight, like don't fly. If the weather conditions are questionable, don't fly. If you are not completely comfortable with the maneuver, don't do it. Put yourself in that extra bubble of safety. That's absolutely crucial. So Fletch says he flies every flyable day. People are riding a bike. I totally agree. It is like riding a bike. Yep. All right. Dad and Mom, thank you guys for being on. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
We love
guys.
buddy.
Much love. Thank you. I'm having
High
fun.
five or high 4.5. Okay.
High five. Yeah, that's actually a story for another day. We have to.
All right.
My dad's rocking the 4.5 finger.
See you guys.
Love y'all. All right. So, I need to close Zoom now, if you will. And I'm going to get to. Yes, you can end the meeting. Kokalti had a question. Hang on, Mom and Dad. I can still hear you. Let's see. All right, now I can't hear him anymore. Perfect. Question for Eric. I want to get into the sport, but I'm worried about spontaneous collapses. If I fly only in the afternoons and in calm weather, what are my chances for a spontaneous collapse? Also, can a B wing be collapsed to the point of no recovery? Now, if you want to come join me, you're welcome to. So, the baseline, if you're scared of spontaneous collapses, but you're flying in good weather, you're flying in weather that is safe, you're flying in weather that is that you understand from your training, that it's not turbulent air, my first 500 hours of flight, I had one collapse, and it was from flying behind someone's wake. And it was reopened so quickly, it felt like hitting a speed bump. It was like, ba-dump. That was it.
I'm sorry, it was like, what?
Ba-dump. Do you want me to do it again?
Every time, I love it.
Ba-dump. So, yeah, it was not a big deal at all, and would continue to not be a big deal. So if you're flying a safe glider in safe conditions, collapses are generally not something to be concerned about. Nell's eating Thin Mints, guys. If you guys are jealous, I don't
You should be.
blame you. So let's see. I'm watching myself right now.
Oh,
It's
you
pretty
might want
great.
to scoot that way.
Should I scoot?
Yeah.
That way you're not out of the frame.
I mean, you invited me here, so.
I want you here. You should be the centerpiece of this. All right. So, yeah, as far as having a collapse that's so bad on a B glider that it can't reopen, I suppose it might be possible if forced, but in testing, it should be very, very easy to reopen with minimal pilot intervention. You can read the test reports on most manufacturers' websites, so worth doing. But if you're concerned, start with an A-wing. An A-wing is awesome. Nell started with a Mojo, and now you're on a Spider.
Yep.
How do you like it?
Yeah, better.
Better?
But I was scared of it at first, so, you know.
Oh, Bob
It's
Litherac's
all
about to
better.
get banned. He's about to get banned.
I like tagalongs.
I like tagalongs, but they're not better than
See
Thin
you.
Mints. Nothing's better than Thin Mints.
See you, Bob.
Bro.
See you in your tagalongs. And I raise you a Samoa.
Samoa is better. You just like blasted every headphone user in
sorry.
the tri-state area.
Sorry, guys.
I love it. I love it. God. Greg says, I just turned 52 and I feel that starting this sport has given me a new lease on life. Can't wait to get down there and get this party started. Can't wait to have you, man. Gosh, I'm sorry we had to move you. I blame Corona. We blame Corona, that's for sure. 009 says, you can't eat snacks. Cannot eat snacks unless you bring enough for everyone.
Well,
I mean, it's a quiet stream. We're like 25 viewers short of normal, so
yeah.
there's like 6 left
I
in
brought
here.
enough for you.
I'm good.
I brought one for you.
I'm not a big, not a huge fan of sweets.
Man.
I know it's shocking.
Yeah.
How many flights do you have now?
Honestly, I kind of stopped specifically counting. Around 50.
Yeah, so I was figuring between 44 and 55,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
It's probably around 50.
Derek
Yeah.
says 7.1 surround sound. Oh my goodness. Kokalti. I don't know how to say your name, dude. Sorry. He says, asked if I can talk about the accident I mentioned earlier. Yeah, there's a blog post. I'm not sure if it's on our new website or not, talking about
That's a
it.
good question. I don't know.
Basically, long story short, was flying a very, very hot, spicy, uncertified wing. I was flying a motor that was not to the level, like the standard of production that I would prefer, and it had not come with stock safety straps, so I'd added my own. They were too long, and the bolt sheared, and I went into a deep spiral really fast, dropped about 300 feet, and hit the roof of a house. So the bolt that holds the arm on. That happened. If it had been 3 feet higher, I would have been totally fine. If I'd been 3 feet lower, I'd be dead. So don't fly super, super sketchy, uncertified gliders until you have the experience. I had a lot of experience. I didn't feel confident, but my mentors felt like I was ready. I'd flown it maybe 12 to 18 hours by that point. And, well, I guess more than that. But basically, I was showing off. I had a unit that had a propensity to have the bolt loosen every flight. And so, like, just before that, Tucker, that was actually there with me. And I just tightened the bolt, but because the bolt kept loosening, as it loosened, instead of acting as a pivot point, it acted as a hinge like this. So the bolt was actually bent and then snapped. And I don't remember what grade it was. It was a grade 5.5 or something. It was a lower grade bolt, so it was not a great situation for that. So it sheared. I plummeted. I didn't have time to get the reserve out, and got very lucky. Only broke my back in 2 places. The worst part was the road rash. So very, very thankful. But yeah, so that's the story. But yeah, I learned more stuff. Bob Garber says, stay away from blackberry bushes. That was my second flight. That was a long time before. Yeah. Oh, man. Michael Kennedy just polished off an 8-inch cake watching us.
Excellent.
I feel like I should go
Excellent.
get some biltong.
I feel like we're quarantining wrong.
I do feel like we're quarantining around. Oh, man. I saw a couple of people talking about their giant, I think it was Bob Garber talking about his giant food pickup order. Like, yeah, we've been having these giant food deliveries this next time we're going to try to wait 2 to 3 weeks. So JP Tula, the house was fine. The house was not harmed in the making of this. I literally skidded off the roof and then went into a tree on the side.
Like skipping a stone off of a...
Yeah, a very painful stone.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Charles and Jill said that all this passes are going to bake some goodies and also make some homemade biscuits and gravy. Oh, Jill, I'm in. See, I don't like sweets,
so good.
but you give me savory and I will crush it, especially if
he's
there are
all in.
carbs involved, carbs and meat.
Ooh, nachos sound great too.
I've ordered 3 different types of nacho chips this time, so maybe we'll actually get some.
Hero.
We've ordered nacho chips the last 2 times we've ordered, and none have
Yeah, we
arrived.
order our food and they're always out. It's so sad.
Yeah, Cocalti, I did not throw a reserve. I had 3.2 seconds from the time that the arm broke to the time I impacted the roof. I should have thrown a reserve, and if I had more experience, I probably would have had time to get the reserve out. I just didn't do it. I didn't know. Where did you get the Girl Scout cookies now?
Eric brought Girl Scout cookies home because he's wonderful.
I am.
This is the last of them, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I brought like 8 boxes home.
2 months ago.
That would have lasted
I
me
made
like 4
them
years.
last a long time. This actually might be the last box from last year.
Oh, okay. That's acceptable.
It's possible.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. We've got do you have some TP you can ship me? Sure, bro. If you need TP, I will send you a roll. No problem. No problem. Bob Litheractor, yeah, I wish we could have seen you, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's a quiet night. It's been a long, long day. I think
It
we're
has been
going to
a long day.
call it a night. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
No.
No. So
I couldn't hear. I only heard your half of the conversation for the last hour. So I have like half of an idea of what this evening has even been about.
So there was a good question from Jim CR120. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I'm going to try to paraphrase. He said, what would you say to a wife who is concerned about a split focus or lost focus on her? As Jim's coming out of train in November, and his wife is apparently a little bit concerned about losing energy. What would you say to his wife?
I would say probably words are only going to get you so far. You're going to have to prove it with your actions. I did see some people in the chat talking about that specifically, having her be involved alongside of you and seeing, that it's something that you really want, that it's hard work, but that you're willing to do it, that it's important to you. It's always been valuable to me to see you work toward the things that you value.
And it wasn't easy for me. Like that's for sure.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't.
And then the flip side of that too, supporting her, and if there are things that check in with her. Do you feel supported to do the things you want to be able to do? That's always been a very open conversation between us. Yeah, absolutely. I support Eric for whatever fills his cup, but he does the same for me. Whatever that is and whatever it has been. So, it's definitely a two-way street.
And there are times, I mean, in my first probably 2 years of flying, I was out every single morning and evening. I was gone. We had little kids. We had a 1.5-year-old, and we had a newborn, and then you were pregnant, and I was gone. I mean, I was flying. I was probably at the field 6-8 hours a day. But she took that sacrifice for me because she saw how much it changed me, how much it developed me as a person.
Yeah.
So that, or she's just too nice. One of the two.
Not me.
Great question from Bill Gleason. He asked if there's a new stuff stack, a smaller stuff stack than the Easy Bag. There is. In fact, we have them in stock. The Aviator Deluxe it would be fine. So go pick up a deluxe stuff sack, or even the take-along stuff sack. We'll fit it. It will be much tighter in the take-along. The deluxe is what I would go with. You can order it online, and we can mail it to you, or you can come pick one up when we're finally open again. Let's see. Have Alex do a carb tune video. Good idea, John DeJohn. I will talk to Alex about that. Bob Lither actually says, would I be able to park at the airport bobtail? Yes, absolutely. Fletch says, come fly tomorrow. We'll keep away from you. Don't tempt me. I'm going to bring my Lysol and just spray everything I touch.
He's going to spray you. Just
I bought a bottle of Lysol right before all this happened, and I'm like so grateful. It's like half gone now. It's really kind of sad.
every time he pulls it out, I'm like, are you sure you want to use it for this? Because we're going to run out.
We are, eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting all of our food delivered, and so like you have to spray all the bags, and like I might have bought 18 bottles of white wine, and so I had to spray all of those. And they're $2.50 at Aldi, man. It's not bad. Michael Kennedy asked, what do you think of Air Design wings? Yeah, so Air Design, I've flown a few of their wings. The Rimaflex is outdated but good. It was really ahead of its time. The what was the one I flew? The Air Design, I think it was the UFO. It was a single surface 16-meter glider. I flew it a few times, and I laughed every time I flew it because it was the first single surface that had hit the market, and it was so bizarre to fly. It was just, it was giggle worthy. It really, really was. So, David says, just some words of wisdom to everybody waiting for training. Be patient. Don't sacrifice quality so you can get up in the air sooner. Don't fall for the same mistake I did. Amen, brother. I have the same story, or a very similar story. I wish that I had done things differently. I truly do. But
I waited a long time for quality training.
You did wait a long time.
I did.
Was it quality?
It was excellent.
It was acceptable?
Zero complaints.
Zero complaints. Chlorine to bleach 4-to-1 in a garden sprayer does the same as Lysol for 25th of the price. It goes 100 times further.
I can't find bleach.
Yeah, nobody has bleach. Nobody has alcohol. Nobody has witch
It's
hazel.
ridiculous.
Now, we haven't left the house in 3 weeks, so
That's true.
maybe things have changed. But 3 weeks ago was my last time leaving the house to go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Hour, can you use the Moster 185 for a trike tandem? Yeah, in fact, that's what we do. We have 3 tandem units with the Moster 185. We use the 140-centimeter propeller on the Fly Products rider thrust. So, Brian says, if you're waiting to train, it's just buying a wing and kite. Absolutely agree. Yeah. However, if you are an Aviator upcoming student, we have some really big news coming very soon where we will be providing a wing. I can't say anymore. I got to be quiet till it's real. So probably in the next 2 weeks, you guys will hear a huge announcement from us that will change the way we teach forever in a really good way. Yeah. So if you guys are signed up for training now, you'll be really, really happy. If you aren't signed up for training yet, please get signed up for training because we have spaces available in June. It is definitely worthy of your time. Let's see. All right. Tortoff says, I still have Eric's present if I run out of beer. If they run out of beer, I think the whole nation's in trouble, my friends.
Yeah, you get an uprising. Big uprising.
Well, guys, it's been a great show. Thank you all very much for being a part of this show. Thank you so much for being a part of the Aviator family and for joining us in each of these things. Please remember, next week, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, we're going to have Tucker Gott, the man, the myth, the legend, and really, he's just Jaqueline's boyfriend. So very excited.
Fame right there.
Guys, get signed up for our training. Check out our website for any merch needs. We are still shipping parts and products. We'll have more announcements coming soon, and I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Al, for being on.
Yeah.
See you guys next week. Have a great one. So long.
Bye.
Oh wait, you guys want Nell to play you out? You want Nell to play you out? Is that what I heard? Do you feel like it?
I can do that.
She can do that. All right, we're gonna have Nell play you out. How about that? If we can get a like, in the chat.
You are shameless.
You know, just for the play out. I mean, if you guys are cool with that. All right. I'll turn the gain up a little bit, let you guys listen in.
Not bad.
Pablo Derek says Rachmaninoff.
Well, I said no. You can't do that on the
Nell says no. Bob.